or glorify the assassination of the MAGA activist and father of 2 young children. These companies and organizations have reported either terminating or suspending employees for posts about Kirk, and that includes Middle Tennessee State University firing a worker they say had, quote, zero empathy for Kirk's death. Conservative activists, Republican lawmakers, and even a doxing website are flagging the comments in what critics say is a campaign to punish those posters. Let's bring in Jessica Kriegel, the Chief Strategy Officer of Culture Partners. Jessica, thanks so much for being here with us. Look, there is, of course, the First Amendment and freedom to speech in this country, but there's also private companies who hire people, and it would seem to me if it's a private company, they get to decide who they want to hire and fire. What do you think?
Absolutely. They don't need a reason to fire you if you're an at-will employee, which most workers in the U.S. are at-will contracts. So they can fire you because you wore green instead of blue one day. It doesn't matter. Really, what the leader's job at these private employers is to identify the workers who are aligned with the culture that they're trying to cultivate, the strategy that they have to achieve their results towards their purpose. So with American Airlines, for example, they said that the person was suspended because it didn't align with their purpose, which is to care for people on life's journeys. That's a perfectly legitimate and actually best practice for how you make decisions around hiring and firing.
And what about a public sector worker? Are standards different there?
Yeah, certainly. So with the government, it's a little bit different, right? And so what they do with the government, there is the Pickering balancing test, which looks essentially back from a 1968 Supreme Court case, which asked the question, does this worker's freedom of speech disrupt the government agency's ability to perform its work? And if it does, such as, for example, creating disharmony in the workplace, then that freedom of speech isn't necessarily protected. And so there is different standards, there's a higher bar. However, there still is the ability to, if someone is, for example, inciting violence, that is not protected speech, even for a government worker.
And so how do you think, I mean, you've outlined all of this well, but look, in the world of social media, where somebody can write something and it lives there for a while, or anybody can find anything, how do you think companies are navigating this? How should they be navigating this?
The great leaders are pausing. There is public pressure sometimes to act quickly, and then we get spun into this endless activity trap of trying to react, and we call that the action trap. But great CEOs are taking a moment, they're pausing, they're looking at what experience do I want to create for the workers who are employed here? What beliefs do I want them to hold about me as an employee, myself, the CEO? What do I want them to hold? What beliefs do I want them to hold about the company? And then they're making decisions accordingly. A lot of the CEOs are getting headlines right now because they're firing or suspending people, but there are probably 10 times as many CEOs who are having conversations with employees. They've seen something, they call the person up, they have a conversation, what's going on, and then they're acting appropriately after having more understanding.
All right, Jessica Kriegel, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, still to come. We are live on the red carpet for television.